Yeah?
Mm-hmm. We used to be, much more dramatic. To get on. Hi, everybody. Good to see you today.
Yes.
I'm going to do all the sharing now.
Yeah. So, one of the critiques we got was, I think I'm too close to the mic sometimes.
Okay.
So, I'm just going to keep it down here for now.
Too much I'll be up in the mic. I'm not even going to lie.
Yes, you've told us many times that you love hearing your...
I love hearing my voice.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's one of my favorite sounds. People used to be like... A lot of people say that they hate hearing their voices recorded.
Mm.
And then one day I was like, I don't. That was it. Like, you don't? I'm like, no. It sounds different, I guess, because you're hearing your voice totally from the outside, but you're literally hearing how other people hear you.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys know, just some random things I learned in college. When you hear, there's two different ways that we hear. One of them is through the ear canal and through the tympanic membrane, and the other one is by oscillation of this bone, this temporal bone right behind your ear. And when we speak, we vibrate that bone, so we're hearing ourselves from the inside. And then when you hear yourself recorded, is just hearing yourself the way everybody else would hear you, pretty much. So
Yeah, that's basically...
That's basically it.
My problem.
How was your week?
My week's not too bad.
Mm-hmm. This is a recap. Are you ready or not yet?
Well, I don't know. Did we say welcome to the...
Hi, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to the Black Multiverse Theory podcast. Good to see you this evening.
Yeah.
As the days are getting shorter, the nights are getting longer. The winter is coming. Mm-hmm. A lot of us are feeling like it's time to hibernate. A lot of the people I've been talking to have been having that feeling right now as the weather changes.
Right.
And my astrology buffs know that both Mars and Mercury are in microbraids right now, which means it's kind of hard to get contracts finished up, communications all over the place. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of arguing. Some days you just feel angry and upset. It's all in the air. So we're here this week, though. We've made it. We've made it back again.
And for those of you who are not astrology buffs, as you call it.
Did I say buffs?
I think you said buffs.
I'll take it.
It just means you have to grind harder this time around.
Yeah, and knowing that once we come out of this space, the work that you do while you're in this space will make things come to fruition. So can't stop, won't stop.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, so a couple things happened this week for me.
Mm-hmm.
This week, Nariah was registered, and his mom registered him for soccer.
Nice.
So we're back into soccer season. I just got contacted by the coach today asking if I could coach.
Yeah, naturally.
Again.
Better on the field than from the stands. I don't think they have a choice either. I think that is their choice. Whether you coach from on the field or whether you coach from in the stands.
Yeah. So I was like, we'll have to see what timing and make sure timing is right. So that's good. Scheduling. Is it going to be on Sundays, Saturdays? What's the situation? What are practice schedules? What are we looking at? Previously in the past, I coached both boys in their soccer.
Yes.
And had a great time doing it. Learned on the job. kind of training, but have also a little bit of experience with sports and stuff, and teamwork and training and drills and stuff. So it was really good. Those of you who are looking for another type of league that's smaller than EMSA right now, there are other leagues out there, like the Grassroots League, which it's called. Very good team. Lots of really hardworking coaches there. It's a community league, so any child is really accepted there. You don't have to do tryouts. It's about a quarter of the price of the club units. So if you're not into club, or if you just want your child to get some really good exercise in a really positive environment, that's a good way to do it without having to break the bank. If your child is going to be the next Ronaldo or Ronaldinho or Pele, or even, what's the other guy?
The one I don't like from Spain?
That's Ronaldo.
Oh, that's Ronaldo. Messi? The one.
Messi, if you want a child wants to be the next Messi. What's the one who married Posh Spice? Beckham. If you think your child is going to be the next Beckham.
We're pretty much at the bottom of my... Sorry, that's the end of my soccer.
But I gave you all the ones, so you looked good until you said something. Okay. You should have said anything.
Thank you.
It was fine.
I'm like, don't say anything.
It was fine. I had you in the spot. I said, okay. I know she don't Posh Spice.
Okay.
I got you with the Beckham.
Yeah, I like it.
So anyways, if your child's on that level, you want to be professional, we have the Edmontonian who won. He just won award internationally. He got
for soccer.
He's amazing.
Edmonton's a big soccer town. I have to say that
it's really big, and he got signed to a brand new team.
It's definitely the
millions of dollars.
The not anti-hockey, but like hockey and soccer are probably the two big.
Yeah, I mean, especially now. I think growing up in Edmonton, for those of you who didn't know, I have born and raised here in Edmonton. Spent a lot of time in the United States. But growing up, it was all about basketball. It was all about Michael Jordan. It was all about, you went on the field because Michael was very popular around the world. So everybody wanted to be like Mike.
Yeah.
Now, it's a LeBron James thing. But here in Edmonton, it is a huge soccer city. I didn't realize how big it was.
It sure is.
Until I really got involved on that level. And then you realize, wow, we have a lot of soccer going on here.
There's a lot of soccer in the city.
Or football, for those of you who are...
Do they call it that, though?
Football?
In this city? Yeah.
Depends on if you were here all the time or if you just got here.
I have a young client. I think I've told this story a bunch of times, but his uncle plays for the Snowcaps. He's also my client. But the young man was like, I said, you're trying to play pro like your uncle? He's like, yeah, I'm trying to surpass my uncle. I'm like, surpass? He's like, yeah, like, do better then. I'm like, sir, I know what surpass means. I just wasn't sure you were aiming for the head, but thank you for letting me know. He's like, yeah, I'm going to outdo him. I'm like, okay, got it. I get it.
And it's always good to have those goals to get ahead.
It's coming for him.
Naraya definitely wants to be a soccer player at many points. So he's a soccer guy.
This is definitely the city to be able to do it, I think. Cool. We had something last week, didn't we?
Last weekend?
Maybe not. No, I guess not.
No.
I feel like things happened, but I guess they didn't.
It was the 24th.
Didn't have no event or anything?
We were supposed to have an event.
No. This coming one.
We did. We had the Jasmine 18th. Shout out to Jasmine.
There it is.
And her 18th birthday party.
Yes.
It was great. It was what I call the Disney's Frozen Let It Snow version.
You should have sang
Let It Snow. Let It Snow. It was quite it was quite the ordeal. We all love Jasmine. She just turned 18.
She's so great. She's really a linchpin in the business.
She's a real good person for aphrodisiac.
I think she's been working with me since she's 14 years old. So
and
she's grown up.
She knows it. She knows it, and she's one of those. She's one of those people who thinks ahead of the situation.
And she goes above and beyond.
She does. She goes well above where she needs to be, and she does all the things. So
yeah, happy birthday to you, Jasmine.
Happy birthday to Jazzy Fizzle. Jazz had her thing. Oh, my mom's calling. I wonder what that's about.
This is the part of the show, everybody. It's time for Nigel's mom's
calling. Let's find out what Nigel's mom.
She's trying to get onto the podcast.
Having trouble to get on the podcast again. Let's listen in on what she's about to say.
Yeah, Auntie Muriel says hello.
Auntie Murray, hi. And Nilo.
Hello?
It's me. Yes, Mom. How are you?
I'm all right. I just opened the door for this girl coming up here.
Yeah, you called me twice.
To let her know she's on the air, please.
I didn't mean to call you there. Sorry.
All right, you are on the air right now. We called you live from the show to make sure you were okay. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
All right. Did you get on the podcast?
Not yet.
All right, I sent you the link. All right.
Okay.
All right, bye. And that was my mom.
The segment of the show we call Nigel's mom.
So Mom came on. Back to Jasmine. So Jazz had a birthday party. Her mom had it in the backyard. I think that was the backyard. Yeah,
It's a weird setup.
It looks like the front, but it's the back.
They could both be the front in a way, and they could
like
both be the back in a way. It's like
is the yard.
A yard, correct.
It was a yard party.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of fire pit.
Fire pit was there.
So fire pit's great. And
it was good.
Yeah.
It was really, really good. There was five quick songs.
We brought in Barry Crazy Figure Simpson was in there, Emmanuel, the strumming guitarist, very phenomenal guitarist in the city. Can't sleep on him at all.
He's very good.
And then we came out. The party.
The birthday girl loved. She's old. She's an old soul.
She's an old soul. So she was into that old school R&B.
She sure was.
And when I say old school, we're talking about 90s and 2000s, the aughts. So she had those on the heart. We had one very beautiful country song called "The Mother" by Brandy Carlisle.
Something. It made me cry every time.
So had to sing that, which was really good. It did drop below zero, so it was
like -15.
It got chilly real quick.
Celsius, folks.
Guitarist, he was like my fingers.
He did it. Yeah, he did a really great job. But
yeah, he came in his
the
fingers.
Cold wins every time.
The cold was actually, and most people don't know this, when you're playing a guitar, especially an acoustic guitar, in the cold, it literally untunes the guitar.
Yeah, actually, they're all family of guitar players, so they deeply empathized with what was going on with him. And Mr. Perry came up to us and was like, "He was amazing. I'm watching him tune and retune his guitar. This guitar is literally untuning. His fingers are freezing. Wow." I'm like, thanks, Mr. Perry.
Yeah, it was really good. Mr. Perry and Mrs. Perry, they were doing a great job.
They did a great job.
Supporting us and their granddaughter.
Miss Perry she's out there, and she's like, "Well, let me tell you, by my house, there used to be a theater. It was a grand theater. And then they broke it down." And all the girls are like, like deeply involved in what she was saying. It was very cute.
She had a little story there.
It was story time.
They brought out the marshmallows.
Mr. Perry's got a rad new ponytail now. He's liking it. Throwback to the 70s, he says.
He's got a throwback out there. So it was really good. We sang
good.
our hearts out. My vocal cords, that was a different thing for me.
It made it.
I literally started getting cold. So I was doing this extra vibrato with my voice there, shivering. So it was really good.
Yeah, but it was a great time.
So shout out to them and you know, even Barrick's children that were there periodically for sticking it out in the cold for that. So it was really awesome. Happy birthday to Jazz. Happy birthday to the fam.
We're going into now on the scroll. Here we go. Let me bring the little listy list over here so we can see what we're really talking about.
And just so everybody knows, Colin Brereton, I always love to see you on there. The questions you ask for everybody who's listening, behind us is a giant Connect 4
what did he say? Yes.
Yes. It is a giant Connect 4. Yeah. I do have championships. My children are reigning champions right now at the Connect 4. Especially my young 8-year-old, one of the twins, Nyla. She is amazing at Connect 4. She will play it until she figures out the strategy. And once she's got the strategy, she wins almost every time. So between her and my son Naraya, they beat me quite a few times. So they're strategists when it comes down to the game.
Giant Connect 4, correct.
So on the scroll, though, moving to the scroll, we have a few things that have happened this week on the scroll. So one of those things is,
well, Judge Amy has now been confirmed to the Supreme Court. If you don't know why this is important, let me just let you know. The American election is now less than a week away, or is it about a week away? What Trump plans to do, which he's already said, is contest the results if he loses. So in the event that Joe Biden wins, he plans to contest the results. When he contests the results, that goes to the Supreme Court to make the final decision. Additionally, there are some long-standing Supreme Court decisions that they plan to reverse, including they just recently signed an anti-abortion pledge, and apparently the countries on that pledge are largely authoritarian countries. It's like a bunch of authoritarian countries and then the U.S. So you know, it's a pretty dire situation in terms of having personal rights that are being infringed on. They just wanted to turn back the legalization of gay marriage and pretty much undo the work that has been done in the short term. So Miss Amy is definitely not, from what I understand, she wasn't a trial lawyer. She did 3 years and did like a bunch of civil cases, has not done any like DA or defense attorney type stuff, has only been a judge since 2017. So she seems highly unqualified for the position, but qualifications have never stood in anyone's way before. So
yeah, she was nominated by Donald Trump, Judge Amy Coney Barrett.
There she is.
And she, you know, she stood she stood in front of Kamala Harris, and
that's another thing that we will talk about. That we did the research.
We did the research on her name,
correct?
And so Kamala Harris did talk to her about the issues, and she just wanted to make sure it was a debatable issue. So she asked her 3 questions, and the judge was like, "Why are you asking me these questions?" And she's like, well, I wanted to know how you felt about this. I wanted to know how you felt about if cigarettes cause cancer. And I wanted to find if global warming is causing, you know, emissions.
Humans are causing global warming.
Humans are causing global warming, which is like, well, it's, you know, these are common knowledge. These are things that are there. And she goes, yeah, well, I just wanted to know if it was a debatable issue. And she smiled with her Kamala Harris smile.
Yeah.
And she was like, I'm good.
Yeah.
So
that lady was like, That's a highly political issue, she said. She's like, okay, just the fact that you think it's a debatable issue is all I need to know.
All I
Thank
need
you.
to know. That's it.
Yeah.
And so these two lawyers were there. Kamala has a video out from her 2016 campaign to become a senator. And in that, she just has a bunch of children saying her name differently. And they're like, it's not Kamala. It's not Kamala. It's not Kamala. It's Kamala. Kamala. And she says it. She says it's
like
Kamala. La with a la at the end. So it's Kamala.
Kamala.
So we all got the instruction. We know now. Both of us know now.
We know what it is.
And
we were both incorrect, incidentally.
Yeah, I was saying Kamala.
You were saying Kamala, and I was saying Kamala.
Yeah, so it's Kamala.
It's somehow a combination of the both.
It's Kamala.
But that's what it is.
So those of you who know, she's the vice president. Well, she's going for vice president with Joe Biden. So it's very interesting to see what happens with this election. But with our Judge Amy Coney Barrett, it could be something that is up for debate later. So we'll find out what's up.
We'll see what happens. Did you watch the debate, this last presidential debate?
I watched the last one a little bit. I was at my mom's, and I definitely watched it with her. Shout out to my mom.
Did she have all of the commentaries? Was she like, oh man, you should have recorded it?
My mom is funny when she's watching a lot of things. When she watches sports, when she's watching the debate, anything she's passionate about, she's very, very passionate for the person that she likes and
very against the other person.
But she's against anybody who's with that person too.
Also, okay.
So if
naturally, she's like, F you and your whole team, bro.
She's definitely a fan of the Lakers, more so a fan of LeBron James. So anybody who's like the sportscasters that are on there that are talking about the other team, they're like, oh, the Toronto Raptors coming out. She's like, oh, shut up. Why are you talking about the Toronto Raptors? They're not going to win this thing. And she's like talking.
Your mom's sick of these people.
Oh, I'm tired of them.
That's so funny.
So even with the debate, she's there yelling at Trump at her TV, you know, whatever. Let the man talk. Let the man talk.
You should have recorded this. I would have watched this.
It is great to watch my mom. She is funny to me.
Oh, I love it. I feel like yes, I would watch this. I would watch your mom yelling at Donald Trump through the TV.
And it was funny to watch. They talked about he made some really questionable comments as usual.
As always.
One of the comments he made was that he's the least racist of all the presidents, or all the people.
Yeah.
As well.
He said he's less racist than Abraham Lincoln or something. Like he made some comparison.
He said Abraham. He's done more for the black people in America since Abraham Lincoln.
So Joe Biden was like, yeah, so Abraham Lincoln over here. Now I have to say this because I have to say this. I'm sorry.
What do you have to say?
I do not think Joe Biden is a good person. I don't think he's a morally upstanding person.
Well, no, but I don't think anybody feels this way. This is why this presidential campaign is kind of weird.
It's weird. And I feel like there's a lot of people who, they have valid criticisms against Joe Biden. It's just really nuts that now's not the time for it. Like, that is so intensely now's not the time for it. Somebody asked me if I think that he's going to win. And be honest with you, I didn't think he was going to win last time. So I don't even know what to say. I said, I watch the liberal news media. They want me to feel like everything is okay. They're not going to tell me the truth. They're going to make me feel like I'm winning, even though I'm not. But what I do see from my peers is record numbers of black people specifically out at the polls. I think North Carolina during the 2008 Obama, they had 177,000 early voters, and now it was well over 200,000. So big up to all of y'all in the States who have been like, yo, I have to go out and vote. The system is like many people are disenfranchised by the system. After every election, it's exhausting. We're disenfranchised by the system, but do not let this burn you out. Regardless of what happens with this election, you have to show up in 2 more years and flip that Senate. Because
it's the Senate that makes the difference.
That was definitely something. So we got to flip that Senate. I don't know if it's in 2 years or if it's this year, actually, because Congress is in 2 years. I think the Senate might be this year.
Well, even what happened while I was watching the debate, I watched the debate. Later on, went down by my mom again, and they were talking about, CNN had a whole show talking about voters who did not know which way they're going to go. There were a lot of voters like that. There was one black girl, she talked about protesting, especially after George Floyd. And her mom was like, you are not going to go protesting in a pandemic. And she was like, I'm going to go protest. So she went out, she protested. Her sister got COVID really, really badly.
From the protest situation?
I don't think it was from the protest, but she just got it.
Okay.
So she spoke. And she was young. Like, she just got the right to vote, like, just recently.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then there was other people that they talked about that just had no clue. They did her. She was black. They had another 2 ladies or 3 ladies that were white. They had a white guy from Florida. His whole family is Democratic. They've been a Democratic family. He decided in 2019 he's switching. So he switched to a Republican.
Wow. 2019?
19. Yeah. So you saw 2019.
After 3 years of Trump, he was like, yeah, I want to be a Republican.
And then they started asking him questions, right? Regular questions that a lot of people have been asked. They said, so do you think Trump lies? He goes, well, I can't answer that. I don't know. And they're like, okay, well, do you believe that Trump is the better person? He's like, well, yeah, I think that, the Republican Party best aligns with my personal core values. And I was like, and that's where the issue comes in, is because
that is where the issue comes in. And that, sorry, not to cut you, but in keeping with what you are saying, that's also the issue here in Canada and in Alberta.
Yeah, but we have issues, because if you look at the Christian faith and you look at Christians believe in core values and our top principles and different values about abortion, about same-sex marriages, about freedom of speech, the environment, all sorts of stuff that they are taught from a Christian point of view. And even though a lot of these parties are saying other things that are not great and are bringing very harmful things, drugs into the community, different pharmaceutical drugs that are taking over things. They're saying outlandish things about Muslims and about other races and about other countries. The core values seem to match up with these core values, so they're looking at the better of 2 evils, and they're like, well, this one has more of my core values in there. And that's what happens with Albertans. Especially in Alberta, they tend to side with the UCP party at some points because core values are dealt with. Yeah, they're a conservative country,
right?
And so here we are trying to see, who should we go with? If you do the Liberals, then you're siding with this. If you do UCP, then you're siding with this.
Yeah. I guess the idea is that with the separation of church and state, that you should be free to be able to do what your church values are, which means that the state laws have to be accepting of more things than the church laws are, because there's different churches, there's different faiths, there's different denominations that are all ruled by this one law. So then if we start having laws that are affected by your theology, which is what's happening, then automatically you're like imbalancing, you're like taking away stuff from other people.
There's a lot of that going on. There's a lot of that with, even if you go with another side or party, it's not like going with a liberal party or a more liberal party is going to take away a lot of stuff from, you know, people who believe a certain way.
Right.
It may, depending on what the situation is, depending on what bill they're trying to pass, depending on what situation they're going on, you're going to have to weigh the outcome yourself. But we're not here to tell you. We're not here to tell you which way to vote. What we're here to tell you is vote.
Yeah.
Make whatever thought process that you believe in. Make whatever you want to see come through that's best for your country and best for your city and best for your state, best for your province, and you make that decision and make it a right decision. You don't have to discuss that with your friends, family,
vote for
or
Trump, though.
Anybody.
Keeping that in mind.
You know, for
much
me,
like the Christian God,
my
you
core
can
values,
choose anybody.
The new Kanye has a lot of my core values.
You can choose whatever path you choose, but you're damned if you don't choose this one. That's what I'm trying to say.
And it's funny because looking at Trump, you know, I am a little biased against Trump administration, and it's because he may align with some of my core values, but then in the end, he doesn't like black people.
I don't think him, the guy, aligns with it, though.
Well, the party.
But only because the party has based a lot of its standings on core Christian values, because that is the key demographic that they're pretty much tapping into. They are not like pillars of Christian values,
especially not Trump.
And especially not Trump, but also when we think about Christian values, we think a lot about anti-abortion. We think a lot about anti-gay marriage, right? Those are Christian values that we think about. But we don't think about socialized medicine, because that should be a Christian value, should it not? Like, we're all taking care of each other. We don't think about, like, for example, Joe Biden disagrees with Medicaid for all. That's a rough one. But if you're a Christian party, then you should believe that everybody should be taken care of.
And I think a lot of people, well, especially here in Canada, we have, you know, centralized healthcare. A lot of people look at us, they look at different places. Like, even us, we look at places like Norway, I think it is, that has, like, free university, I think it is.
It's better in a lot of countries.
It's like you get your university education is paid for in one of them. I'll let you know which one it is when I get back to it. But we in Canada, we have this universal healthcare that the States is like, wow, that universal healthcare is amazing because I got sick that one time or I got in an accident that one time, and they're looking at us like, whoa, that's great, but how will it apply to us? Meanwhile, Canadians are like, yeah, we got this, you know, universal healthcare thing, but those guys have university that's paid for.
Correct. I mean, you keep reaching, right?
And universal.
Correct. But honestly, like, I'm cool with the government doing all of the stuff that is done with the business, like, over the course of the last 6 months. I definitely know people in the States who have businesses have not had the help that we've had, or even personally. Obviously, America got $1,200, and Trump said maybe after I get elected, you'll get another $1,200, which is extra rough. But I will go further and say that people who work at McDonald's, people who are fast food workers, people who have to go out and work in order to keep us functioning, gas station workers, like, they've been saying essential workers. Anybody you classify as essential workers, to me, should get access to N95 masks. Like, what is it that as a hairstylist I have to be open? Like, I cannot not be open, and I have to come into contact with all these people on a regular day. I'm watching folks like this, their masks on. I'm watching children. like, can you help us protect ourselves? But the thing is, like, yes, everything, we're going to want to go further and further and further until people are taken care of and you can live regularly. You know, a lot of the systems that we have accepted are based on this puritanical system. They're based on this patriarchal system. Mm-hmm. There was once a 7-day work week, and then there became a 5-day work week. So it was up to us, to be the people, being us, to be able to strike and protest and do what was necessary to make it so that A, children were not allowed to work, and B, we didn't have to work those 2 days. So if we want 3 days off, y'all, we got to make that happen, because we're the only ones who can make it happen.
Yeah. Also, I think there was a thing on 60 Minutes, right?
Yeah. So Trump did some half interview on 60 Minutes because my man got on there and was like, are you going to be fair to me? Now, this is a thing that I have to discuss, and y'all, please, I wish people would cue in on this, but what I have found is that specifically as it comes to money, but always when it comes to favor, when I'm speaking to specifically white men versus specifically black men and specifically black women, right? Mm-hmm. White men, particularly, when they use the word fair, they mean in their favor, in the favor of your favor. But when we black people use the word fair, it means we have to give up something in order to make it fair, in order to give the other person, we have to give up something or give up some kind of advantage. So when we use the word fair, it's often at our deficit. And I learned this because I was going for a banking loan thing for the business, and the bank guy kept telling me to make sure I make the numbers fair, and I kept bringing them down, like my projection numbers, and he kept telling me to no, they're gonna bring them down, you have to make it fair. And I was like, oh, you're using that word differently. And then that's when I'm listening, like, oh, y'all use that word differently. They use the word differently. So Trump is like, are you going to be fair to me? Leslie Stahl is like, yeah, I'm going to be fair, but they're going to be tough questions. Trump is like, no, I don't want tough questions. You didn't give Biden tough questions. Leslie Stahl's like, I didn't interview Joe Biden.
Right? He's like 60 minutes interviewed Joe Biden, and it was
and then the man's like, when did I say this? Like, he said it literally 3 times. She was like, you said X, you said Y, you said Z. Every time he was like, when did I say that? Every time CNN was like, or 60 Minutes was like, bloop, cut to the clip of Trump saying the thing.
Exactly, word for word.
Literally word for word.
He's like, please, middle class women.
Please vote for me. Why don't you like me?
Why don't you like me? I got the people out of your neighborhoods. Why don't you like me? Please like me.
Yeah.
Please like me.
When people are like, well, you know, Trump's not so, I'm like, are you trying to be a contrarian right now? Because I'm not with it. My auntie is well in her 60s. She has Down syndrome and has been living inside for months because people are pretending like, oh, it's no big deal. And now the thing is that there are folks out there that are like, well, call the herd, call the population. People are going to have to die. Like, what are you talking about? You're talking about my auntie has to die because you don't want to cover your face and wash your damn hands? Like, what are you really saying to me right now? So, like, and the thing is that we're focusing on the people that we consider, like, it's just this more eugenics nonsense. Like, there's like a weaker portion of the population that should be eliminated. That whole thing that we're still dealing with, they're using that whole eugenics model on top of COVID. And it's nuts.
And then on top of that, speaking of which, I like to get in on this one here. To all my friends from the beautiful island of Jamaica.
Oh, Buju.
Sometimes you gotta rein in Buju. Buju Banton was in there and he was like, all the people, we're not wearing no mask. We're not wearing no mask because masks not made for man. And he's like, people are for dead. So that's the way we got to do. And I was like, wait a minute.
Hold on there.
Hold on a second. The masks aren't really made right for humans to wear them forever.
A long time, yeah.
All right, your nose starts running, all sorts of stuff. Correct. But you cannot tell people not to wear
the
mask, or not to protect themselves, or not to protect others
also,
by wearing a mask.
Buju has money. Like, you're in Jamaica, which is quite impoverished. You have the money and the team to be able to bring in whichever doctor you need to bring in and get the care you need to bring in. So when he says some people have to live and some people have to dead, is which people you think are dead? It's the same poor people, his people he's talking about that's gonna have to dead.
It was funny,
right? And additionally, same with this Buju nonsense. Or with the whole thing, this whole eugenics model on top of COVID. You guys are wild. And additionally to our friends, COVID is real. It's bad weird. You guys openly debating whether it's real or not when we actually know people
it's not the flu.
Who have gotten it. It is not the flu. It's the thing that they say. It's real. And then the last thing I want to say about this Buju COVID situation about live and dead and this eugenics model, it's not a zero-sum game, friends. It's not a zero-sum game. So you can have it and then have to live with that chronically for life. Like, all of a sudden you randomly have lung issues. All of a sudden you have a heart attack later. Or all of a sudden you have a stroke later. Like, these things are happening randomly. This is not no easy thing. Y'all. Dang. Anyway,
you got a lot on your.
What's next on the list? Rod last week was talking about how I was waving my neck all the time. You know we can only put 15 seconds of this on for the people, but you did. Jeez.
So that was Buju.
Moving forward with this trash administration in America.
Wow, okay.
545 children. We cannot find their parents. And guess what? Yes. These kids are being held in hotels, bros. Hotels, bros and sibs. Sisses. Hotels, like, with private contractors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've been actually renting out the whole floor of a hotel, or 2 floors of the hotel. Mm-hmm. They rent the whole thing out. They bring all the children in. Mm-hmm. They have them in all these different hotels, but they have security guards at every floor
that look like regular white men.
And they just sit there. They're kind of plain clothes. Guys that come in. One guy, was trying to give them legal counsel. He's like, "Yo," a
civil rights lawyer, and they was denied access to these children.
Pushed him into the elevator.
That are being kept in hotels.
Yeah, not good.
So there's obviously, we're saying a lot of like underlying things there. The Jeffrey Epstein investigation still going on. Now that they have this girl in custody, this lady, his lady or whatever, you may notice in the news a lot of like child rapists, pedophile rings. A lot of people are going down and getting convicted right now. And a lot of these pedophile rings are getting broken up. Now, these pedophile rings, a lot of them have been tied into the Democratic Party, but a lot of them have also been tied into the Republican Party. And these people are just people with means who are taking advantage of people. So now we have children being held in a hotel. All right. And they don't know where these kids' parents are, so they could be in a mass grave somewhere. They could have been deported, maybe. They could be sold into human trafficking. No clue. So that's y'all's president. All right. On we go to SARS in Nigeria. You guys may have heard this end SARS hashtag. I'm going to let you explain it, Nigel, because you explained it to me.
Yes, so SARS is an anti-robbery unit that came out in the 90s. At that time, there were very violent crimes happening where people were kind of invading, home invasions and shooting up everybody in the house and taking everything in the house, or they were taking people's car and they were going. So they invented, the police department invented the SARS group, which is an anti-robbery unit. So SARS was given, the members, the police officers that were given access to SARS or were placed on the SARS unit, they basically
Can do anything they want to.
Yeah, they got autonomy, so they could go anywhere, anything, plain clothes. They don't have to say who they are. They could just say, I'm a cop, and that's it. So what ended up happening is, over the years, now this is the 90s that this was put into place.
It's not 30 years later.
It was disbanded in 2016, and then disbanded in 2017, and disbanded in 2018.
But they just, when they disbanded, they rebanded with the new name and the same people.
Actually, those 4 times, it was actually just disbanded, but not actually disbanded. So the same people were like, yeah, we're still going to do what we want. So at this point, what ended up happening in Nigeria was there was a viral video that went where police officers took a vehicle and shot the owner of that vehicle, then drove away in the vehicle.
Yeah.
This went viral.
Audacity.
And people were like, we're tired of it, because what is happening is, for the people who live in Nigeria and the different places in Nigeria, what is happening is they are being targeted. If you're a young woman, depending on how you're dressed, you're being targeted as a man, depending on the car that you drive,
or the phone
that you have. And the first thing they ask you when they pull you over or they are inspecting you is, what is your phone? What phone do you have?
Yeah.
So once you have your phone, they see it's an iPhone. They'll beat you and take your iPhone, or just take your iPhone, or just take your stuff.
Yeah.
If you have a really nice car, they'll pull you over for having a nice car, no matter who you are. And these things, they're like, okay, you're part of this drug trafficking, you're part of this. So the people took to the streets after seeing the video. They started going viral with the hashtag.
They were
hashtag end SARS. And yeah, they were protesting when they came up against a very volatile police force, which first started using rubber bullets and batons, then started using mace sprayers and water cannons, and then just started shooting live
bullets.
Yeah. And so they're killing people in the street, holding them down, shooting them in the head. There are live videos of this all over the internet.
Well, anyway, let me not say that out loud.
Before, you used to have to go to like the black internet or the dark web to find it, right? Right? You had to find it. Now you can just find it.
Look it up, yeah.
So what ends up happening is they take to the streets or keep protesting. Nigerian government says, fine, immediately, we're going to take out NSARS. That's it. They're done. They're disbanded. They're done. This is it forever.
But then they redid it.
And then they rebranded the exact same thing to SWAT, which is a new acronym that actually means the exact same thing as SARS. Is like, so we are top. That's SWAT. We are top. So anyways, so SWAT comes in. They took the exact same people from SARS, same police officers, and just put them in SWAT, just reassigned them. Just like, yep, you guys are now part of SWAT. So the NSARS hashtag has not stopped. They're still protesting. There's still violent protests happening there. It has spilled into other places like Sudan and other places all over the continent. And so the continent is now in uprising to end social and police brutality and social injustice.
That's what is happening in Nigeria, folks.
Nigeria.
And also Sudan.
Yep. So yeah, that's that.
We have new COVID restrictions here in the great Alberta.
Man. So to read you out the COVID restrictions, we want to make sure that everybody listening to this podcast and everybody who's part of Edmonton and you are very concerned about COVID restrictions, the new COVID rules that came down to us, it's in the Edmonton Journal. We're going to read you an excerpt from the Edmonton Journal, which shows us exactly what you're supposed to do and how. So this was brought in by the Officer of Health, the Chief Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Dina Henshaw. And this is because on Monday in Alberta, cases rose over 500 on that Monday, and for the weekend it went over 500 cases that were on there. So Alberta reported more than 500 cases in a single day for the first time on Saturday as well, including 7 deaths. There were 364 new cases on Friday, 572 on Saturday, and 504 on Sunday. And there are 2,179 active cases currently in the Edmonton zone. That's in our city that we live in right now, including 737 new cases discovered since Friday. The funny thing about that number there, 2,179 active cases, that is the actual same amount for the entire province of Saskatchewan. So the entire province has, a little bit over that.
Okay.
Which is quite astonishing that our little city
has more COVID
cases that are there. So what they're saying now for the restrictions, these are the restrictions here. It says the new mandatory public health measures apply to events where people are mixing and mingling, such as dinner parties, baby showers, birthday or retirement parties, and wedding and funeral receptions. Hinshaw says limits don't apply to structured events like eating in a restaurant, going to theaters or worship services, and wedding or funeral ceremonies. Now here's where it gets a little, you have to pay attention to the details. So what they're saying is if you're mixing and mingling, this is before, after the event, wedding and shower and funeral receptions. So when they're saying receptions, they're talking about the time when you're viewing the body, if you're going to a funeral, that time before it. And also they're talking about weddings, after the wedding, the reception, where everybody's sitting down for dinner. They're talking about that. It is restricted now to 15 people.
Yeah.
So you are no longer allowed to do all that stuff. The rest of the limitations for these things, for other things like for dinner parties, baby showers, birthday and retirement parties, they're also on the 15 people limit. So you're having a baby shower for the babies, that's what's up. Dinner party you're having with friends and family, 15. Birthday parties or retirement parties, 15. Now, if you are going into a restaurant, that it's still at the 50 range mark per capita, or 1/3 of the maximum people that can go into the establishment, or whatever is greater or whatever is less. Going into theaters is still that 15 range. It's worship services still there, weddings and funeral ceremonies. So your ceremony can have a ton of people at the ceremony. Well, not a ton, but whatever the restriction is, which I believe is either 100 outside and I think 50 inside, is still the restriction for that. So be very aware of how this is. They're trying to do this specifically for these events is because just this weekend, that is how everybody got over that 500 range. Is there were a lot of birthday parties, there were a lot of housewarming parties. People are trying to get this, taken care of. Even I went to a birthday party. There was only I think there was 8 of us maybe at the birthday party, and it was very social distance, and it was outside. Mm-hmm. So even for that wedding receptions, you want to keep within that 15 range. They're not saying don't do it, but they're saying social distance, only have 15 people. Make sure you have a lot of space, that when you're talking, a lot of people like to go in to the, kiss the bride and stuff like that. Let's restrict that. Let's stop that. Let's keep going with the fist bumps. Let's let the bride keep her gloves on.
I'm so happy for pregnant women who don't have to have their bellies touched.
Yeah, a lot of people do that. They touch hair, bellies, all sorts of stuff.
Touching.
Yeah.
Okay.
The fine for this, just so you know, the fine if you are caught doing the things and going against the restriction, the fine is $1,000 per person. So it could affect your wedding greatly if people are getting fined $1,000.
Big Alberta R.I.P. to Joey Moss.
Joey Moss passed, yes. Joey Moss, one of the great Edmonton Oiler icons. He was a man with Down syndrome that as a child growing up, he was telling you to go to school. He was a guy who was on a lot of commercials. He was Wayne Gretzky's right-hand man. A lot. Even after Wayne Gretzky left the Oilers, he stayed true. He even got a pension from them and has been doing wonderful work in the community. He gives back to the community, and he passed away today.
Yeah, R.I.P.
R.I.P.
Just really quick, the Alberta nurses are striking. Protesting some of the health care cuts. The labor union just came down and was like, yeah, that's illegal. You got to go back to work.
It's deep.
But we'll see. I mean, the point of striking, I guess. Striking is resistance to me, so I don't understand being allowed to resist. Exactly.
I think there's regulations, especially in a time when there's
healthcare workers.
When we're in a pandemic.
Yeah. From what I read, that the UCP party was trying to get rid of like 170,000 healthcare worker jobs at this time during a pandemic. So
yeah, I think that's where the protest is really coming in.
Yeah.
Shout out to also Livia Simpson on her birthday, and Cree Williams, my niece, it is her birthday today.
Yay!
So shout out to that.
Happy birthday.
Shout out to them.
Okay, so let's move on. Are you good?
I think we're on the screen now.
Okay, we're moving on to the screen.
So on the screen, shout out to my homeboy Tim and his podcast he's coming out with called Let's Be Real tomorrow, Wednesday.
Okay, congratulations to that team.
To Tim and his podcast.
And the team.
So they're going to have theirs. I've been watching
Building Bridges.
You've been watching
podcast?
Building Bridges?
Not really, because the police have been on there.
Building Bridges podcast is there. Also, shout out to them.
But definitely shout out to them for the work that they're doing.
They've been bringing the police on there and asking the tough questions.
They've been asking questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, those are other podcasts that we have locally in Edmonton. Shout out to the people who are behind that.
I have been enjoying watching The Watchmen, actually.
Watchmen.
So at the shop we got a Roku, and now I'm in the world of HBO, which feels truly exciting and unrealistically exciting. And so kind of catching up on a bunch of stuff. Lovecraft definitely left me wanting more in that realm. And The Watchmen, many people have told me that I should watch. Many people. And it's awesome. It's really complicated, but it's really awesome.
The greatest part about Watchmen is the actors on the show are phenomenal. Regina King comes out playing all sorts of different roles as she comes in. You know, she definitely is a very, very good representation of the Black multiverse and what it's about.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So she's on so there. Awesome. Her love interest that's on there is Yahya Abdul Mateen II. He's actually he's on there. He's on her radar. On there. Sorry. It's on her radar.
Making you a little uncomfortable there.
Louis Gossett Jr. is on there. And many more wonderful actors. Jeremy Irons is on there, which is awesome. I feel like Jeremy Irons, if he needed to be, could be the next Doc off of. I
saw it when you said it.
Off of Back to the Future. He could be, the next Marty's close good friend, Doc.
Okay.
Yeah. And so other than that, we have I've been watching The Blood of Zeus anime on Netflix, just came out, and getting so psyched to watch Disney Plus with The Mandalorian coming back in for its second season. Really excited. Super excited for it. I love the first one. For those of you who are my Star Wars fans, my Star Warriors that are out there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's actually pretty good. One person said that it's probably the best space cowboy movie ever created, even better than Firefly. So those of you who've watched Firefly, yeah, they were like, yo, this is great. Now I think it's really good, but I'm also a big fan of Firefly.
Yeah.
So I like them both.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, going on. What you listening to?
Right now, Tiwa Savage is still in my ears, so I'm really there. But I got into Kanye West's Jesus is King album and impressed. Watched the YouTube entire Kanye West Sunday morning church or Sunday morning service, it's called. And
that's what the choir's called, right?
Yeah.
The choir's called Sunday morning service.
Sunday morning service. So they did an entire concert in a hall. A large
like a concert hall?
Like a Carnegie Hall. And a choir of about 100 choir members in a big circle, 3 rows, with just a piano. No microphones. Like only a few microphones. And like, I think they had about 6 or 7 different angles of camera. And they just played. And the guy who was playing the piano, he played no drums, no nothing. Just him. Just playing the piano. And they're there. And Kanye's in there. And they're all dressed in like it looks like choir robes, but then it also looks like jail suits.
Jesus robes?
Yeah, they look like, they're not robes though. They have pants. So there's full pants. But they look like oversized jumpsuits, prison jail suits.
Okay.
So they're sitting there and they have the classics in there. When you talk about choir, and the worst part about it for me was just sound, especially when the lead singer would come up and sing. All the lead singer would do was get up on this like soapbox type stage. It's not very big at all, and it just puts them higher than everybody else on the choir, and then that person would just belt out the verses from the song. So definitely recommend that for all the gospel buffs out there. Yes, Kanye West can be strange at times, and they feel like he has mental health issues, but when it comes down to music and when it comes down to this, he did a really tremendous job. A shout out to him and the crew for their stuff.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That is it. Do you have
anything in your ears?
Oh, I've been listening to Ott's drug running,
drugs?
Harlem hip hop, talking about flipping crack and selling heroin on the corner. It's all Jim Jones right now. So it's just, for me, it's focus music.
To each their own, right? You know?
To me, it's focus music. Everybody who knows me knows that I'm a music fan. So, right now it's been Jim Jones, Joel Santana. There's been our guy Jadakiss has been in there. Joel Santana, Jim Jones, Jadakiss. Those are the big ones. I listened to a bit. Kevin Gates has been getting a little bit into his feelings for me. And Yo Gotti also, they call it like drug money, bando, crack music, I guess. The original trap music.
Yep.
So that is what I have been listening to. It talks a lot about loyalty over there and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Do you have a word this week?
Do you?
I sure do.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, this week, my word is about perseverance. There was a young lady from North Carolina who I knew she had a very successful Zumba. She still does. Shout out to Erica Dixon. She has a very successful Zumba community of people who go to her classes, but then also interact outside of her classes and share a bunch of stuff. And yeah, just a really great group of people. When I met her, she already had this group of people together, but there was a point where Facebook reminded her of where she came from, and she shared it, and it was like very few people kind of in her class. So that gave me kind of an opportunity to refocus my own vision and sort of think about what the role of persistence and perseverance and really plays in our success. And it is everything. There's one time that I think it was either Eddie Murphy or Dave Chappelle was like, you can only fail if you quit. Other than that, you're still going. Like, the only way that you can actually accept failure is if you quit at something. Then that is at the point where something ends. But as long as it keeps going, you can never be at the point where you've failed. Like, failure is a finality. So I say all that to say, continue the work that you are doing. When you're starting something, consider how long you're going to do that thing for before you decide, oops, I'm going to pack it in. And stay consistent and focused in what you want to do. Not everybody is going to see the future that you can see, because your job as a visionary is to bring your idea, your vision forward for everyone. The people who are around you may not necessarily see that. And a lot of people are going to give you advice that's based on their own fears and based on their own limitations, because people's advice and understanding can only come from that sort of limited perspective and limited to their own anecdotal experience, to their own fears, to their own sort of internalized stuff and internal tapes and monologues. So it's important not to let those things dissuade you. I still want you to listen to it and just decide if there's honest critique that can help you increase or get better. And if there isn't any honest critique that can help you do that, let it go and continue forward. So, ever forward is my word for this week.
Phenomenal.
All right, y'all. Thank you so much for joining us once again for this episode of the Black Multiverse Theory Podcast. We will see you again next week. Good night, everybody.
Good night.